Now, I think that we could all agree here that we need more actors in the film industry like Ryan Reynolds that is willing to take a stand against studio heads, for example, like what he did with the Walt Disney Company, including CEO Bob Iger, that in the beginning were unwilling to really withdraw from their DEI agenda in Deadpool and Wolverine. We had those out there like Ryan Reynolds, Shawn Levy, Rhett Reese, and Paul Wernick that really put Disney in their place and said, basically, you have to do things our way or we are actually walking off this project, and that's exactly what got Disney to basically bow down to their demands. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, there's been quite a series of drama-driven moments behind the scenes, both at Marvel Studios and the Walt Disney Company, with Deadpool and Wolverine as a project. And this one in particular has a lot to do with actor Henry Cavill as the Cavillrine. Now, what's interesting about all of this has a lot more to do with Ryan Reynolds as well, Henry Cavill, and how he's very much frustrated with the overall Disney Company and those out there like Bob Iger and the Disney Board of Directors. Let's get into it, shall we? Now, we know that Marvel Studios needed a big success for 2024. They were banking on Deadpool and Wolverine, and already those out there like Shawn Levy and Ryan Reynolds, they're very unhappy about the fact that Bob Iger recently made an ultimate decision after the recent emergency meeting to use some of the actual revenue made for this movie to use it on other projects that will be driven by an ideology. So that's something that's very bothersome to Ryan. We'll talk more about that down the road. But focusing on Henry Cavill here, this is where things become seemingly more unfair when it comes to Henry as an actor. Now, after Deadpool and Wolverine crossed $1 billion at the box office worldwide, both Ryan Reynolds and Shawn Levy have been in deep conversations with the Disney studio heads about their future involvement in the MCU. However, one major development now has more to do with ongoing drama happening at Marvel Studios with actor Henry Cavill. A significant update to the drama happening with Deadpool and Wolverine now involves how Henry Cavill reportedly had multiple arguments with the Disney executives after Bob Iger's decision to drastically reduce the amount of deleted scenes from appearing on the Blu-ray edition of the film, including deleted scenes of the Cavillrine, a variant of Wolverine played by Henry Cavill, that he had filmed way back earlier this year that was originally going to provide, get this, Cavill 4 minutes of screen time in the movie instead of roughly 40 seconds. Both Cavill and Reynolds are reportedly standing up against Disney after Bob Iger's old, of course, and unexpected decision to not include other deleted scenes featuring the Cavillrine, one of which feature Henry Cavill actually fighting the Hugh Jackman version of Wolverine in a one-on-one battle that was going to explore the multiverse in a more in-depth scale within the first act of the film, the beginning of the movie essentially. This fight scene actually involved Henry Cavill riding around on a motorbike and performing a quick little stunt in between the fight against Jackman's Wolverine, and lasted roughly 2 whole minutes long in length and took 3 days of training to prepare for the scene and get everything rehearsed. Now, Jackman reportedly had the time of his life filming with Henry Cavill. The other scene that Bob Iger actually had the Disney executives and are now keeping under wraps from, never seeing the light of day, involved an extended fight scene between the Cavillrine and Deadpool in the same location scene in the first act of the film that also lasted around 2 minutes long in length. The fight lasted to a point where Deadpool takes off his mask and reveals himself to Henry Cavill's Wolverine and begins to make comedic comments about his muscle size and his beard. Already Henry Cavill and Ryan Reynolds are battling Disney to reinstate these scenes on the Blu-ray edition, and is yet another example of Cavill's unfortunate track record of always getting tossed to the wayside in Hollywood and in the film industry, such as with what happened to him in the DC universe and the drama that came along with Netflix / The Witcher. Now guys, let me just stop here before I move on. Now, I don't know if you guys have any kind of a problem with Henry Cavill as Wolverine, but I think it was rather fitting. I think it was perfect. I think he's a great variant of Wolverine, and we know that Ryan and Shawn have been desperately trying to find a way to expand his character in the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe as another variant of Wolverine, to get involved in another project out there somehow, some way. That's also very shaky right now. That's also very much kind of unexpected. But what's interesting about this is that Bob Iger wants nothing to do with releasing these deleted scenes that feature Henry Cavill. Why? Well, Bob Iger, that's why. There's never really a logical reason behind his decisions. So, as far as I'm concerned, this would actually make them more money. This would actually boost sales to have people go out and buy the Blu-ray edition of the film, or to get a Disney Plus account and check out Deadpool and Wolverine on streaming. And it really makes no sense to me why they would want to discount themselves, why they would want to exclude great moments that were filmed and or partially filmed for this actual movie, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. Now, Henry Cavill, look, he always gets a series of unfortunate events, right? Like I said before, what happened with Man of Steel 2 and his future involvement in DC after James Gunn took over, that was also a major factor as well, but there were also a lot of other problems that came into play after, of course, or before I should say, Henry Cavill got fired. And everything of the drama happening with Netflix / The Witcher. Now, here's where things get interesting, is that in addition to all of this, Cavill was also deeply frustrated with Disney after they never completed another short snippet where the Cavillrine was going to show up originally for 45 seconds toward the tail end of the film. This was actually shot, however the scene was never edited during post-production since it was cancelled midway through principal photography. The scene was labeled as a partially shot and unfinished scene where the Cavillrine would help Deadpool and his newfound friends on the battlefield, including Elektra as well as Blade. So that would have been quite the scene, to have the Cavillrine show up with Blade, played by Wesley Snipes, and Elektra by Jennifer Garner. Now, again, like I've said before, this is typical Disney behavior. They always like to do the best things sometimes. In this case, Deadpool and Wolverine, you have a moment where they have a major success, but then when they want to extend it, it really becomes very shaky, and it becomes more or less of a bait-and-switch scenario. So, like I've said before in the past, we know that Ryan and Shawn are for the fans. Ryan is teaming up with Henry Cavill, battling the Disney heads. Henry Cavill's very frustrated over this behind closed doors. That's why there's been a lot of back and forth between these two actors and the Disney studio heads in recent days. And I think at the end of the day, when you have a major success like Deadpool and Wolverine, when Henry Cavill shows up, on that motorbike, turning around and saying, "You were just leaving," and uses his claws to just kind of thrust Deadpool through the concrete. It was an excellent scene. It was an excellent moment. It is something that rattled the entire theater with cheers of joy. That's what they need, and that's what they need to actually include on the Blu-ray edition. Period. The end. So, we know that Henry Cavill, I don't know if you guys knew this, got very sick with all the cigars that he smoked on the set, doing multiple takes, doing different variants of the scene, and there was a lot of takes that actually took place to get this thing completed. But overall, guys, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.